disclosure, I do not read any of the comics associated with these characters, which is probably why I've never been able to get into their shows. Although, to be fair, I did enjoy Supergirl for like a season and a half before it became Feminist the series. Anyway, somebody, though, is buying these comics and watching these shows, just like I buy Batman comics and I watch Gotham. And so, while watching Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl this week, I had some sympathy for those of you on that team when you try to watch Gotham. Although, I think Gotham's a little bit better, but maybe that's just the Batman fan in me speaking. And I would be curious about that down below. Are these shows a good representation, these three shows, of these series as a whole? All right, so anyway, I thought that for all the hype surrounding this crossover event, while it technically was a crossover, for the most part, it felt just like regular episodes to me. Like the poster was more epic than anything that actually happened in the three shows. I mean, as the Monitor says, they didn't think big enough. Or I think more accurately, couldn't afford to think bigger. I mean, the budget sometimes was really clear. But interestingly, of the three episodes, my favorite was the Supergirl one. And I think maybe that's because I did enjoy the show for a while. But it had some really good elements in it as well. It wasn't just like my having more familiar, although, I mean, I thought Alex, what was with that weird side braid? I was like, that looks ridiculous. I mean, I'd be like, how cruel of you, Deegan, to rewrite reality where her hair is styled this way. And also, she looked a little bit different. She looked not the same as she has when I was watching the show. She looked a little bit less cool, to be honest with you. Anyway, I think that on its own standalone episode, this had my favorite elements, and those were surprisingly good evil performances by Tyler Hoechlin, who looked great in that black suit. I love the mock turtleneck aspect of it, and then also Superman just really works for me as a villain. I just think that character really works for me that way. I loved when he was interrogating Kara Zor-El, and he had his arms crossed behind his back, and the black cape swayed behind him. I was like, evil people really rock a cape. Sorry, Edna Mode, no capes for superheroes. Villains rock them. And then Carlos Valdes, Cisco, I was like, no way he's going to be able to pull off being a villain, because I thought he was pretty grating as a hero or a good guy. But he actually, had the acting chops to do it. So I was really impressed. I was like, Carlos Valdes, you're a pretty darn good actor. And just as I said when she was first cast, Ruby Rose looks super cool until she's asked to say or do anything. And that continues to be the case. Whew, so bad. Also, why is her batsuit kept in a hollowed out tree? I thought that was really odd. I mean, there was supposed to be this cool shot, and the wig was very distracting. I was like, that wig looks amazing. I saw some comments online with people being like upset that, Kate Kane didn't have the same red hair, and it's like, it's from the comic, so you can't tell who it is. Although, when Ruby Rose put on the Batwoman suit, you could clearly see it was Ruby Rose. Some people said maybe her voice should have been a little bit more disguised. But, Ruby Rose only has one mode, and that's Ruby Rose, and it has absolutely no range. So again, while she looked very much the part, and it was awesome to see Batwoman in action, really just that one kick was when she was the coolest. But I did also like seeing her standing around. Like when they had the reveal at the end of the first episode, Flash, when she was on the rooftop, I was like, that's pretty neat. I don't know what she was doing up there. It didn't seem to be particularly productive, but it looked cool. And I even thought Ruby Rose looked neat when she was Kate Kane, when she first was introduced. And then she looked cool sitting in Bruce's office. Again, she looked cool. But I just don't think there's any way that Ruby Rose can support and lead a standalone series. She could hardly pull off, I don't think she actually did even pull off a cameo. And her part was really small. For all they talked it up, it was ridiculously small. But I do have to say, I agree with many of you Arrow and Flash fans that Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin are both very likable actors. I did enjoy spending time with them. Although, boy, does the Flash suit need a swimmer's build to look good. Stephen Amell did not look good in it, and neither did the actor playing Jay Garrick. But also Melissa Benoist, I still do enjoy her as Supergirl. Although I thought it was very weird watching all three episodes in a row that they all have the exact same setup. They all have the exact same sets. They look alike. They're all shiny, science-y workplaces. And they all have the exact same supporting cast, just like slight variations. Side note, though, I've heard so many good things about Danielle Panabaker, who I guess is only sometimes Killer Frost on the show. But I've heard such good things about her from Flash fans that I was disappointed that she didn't have a larger role here. I think a crossover would be more effective with these three shows if each had a more distinct tone. I did not like Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane. I thought she was a horrible Lois Lane, in fact. Although indicative of how much of a non-entity the character is in the comics today. So I guess that was a correlation. But I did think the proposal scene with Superman at the end was cute. That was nice. And Stephen Amell's wife as Nora Freeze was such a waste that I wouldn't even be able to tell that she was Nora Freeze if I hadn't seen the headlines. I mean, she did pick up his freeze gun, but anyone in the asylum could have picked it up. I thought the Arkham Asylum stuff was such a wasted opportunity. And Psycho Pirate, talk about the lamest DC villain there is, and he looked even lamer here than he does in the comics. And they did nothing to introduce what his powers are. I just thought, how do you mess up Arkham Asylum? I mean, that's a really big red flag. Although, you know what I did like? I really liked AMAZO. I thought that he looked cool, and I thought he was surprisingly darn believable considering the low budget these TV shows have. I thought that the fight with him was really cool, very clever, and it played out in a very interesting way. I was an AMAZO fan, just like Brainiac 5. I'm new to Brainiac 5, but when he showed up, I thought he was fun. He was like, ooh, large robot with Superman's powers? Thank you for bringing me. And I was like, I like you. But you know what I didn't like about him at the end when he turned back into his human form for some reason? I didn't like that he had his trademark Brainiac dots lit up right above his crotch. I was like almost pointing to his crotch. I was like, that's an interesting choice there, buddy. And why were they red? The whole thing didn't make any sense to me. And when did J'onn J'onns get rid of his fear of fire? When he went to save those civilians, he was like, I'll shield you. And I was like, how are you doing this? Your trademark fear is on fire. He's like, no, it's like Batman getting over his parents being killed. J'onn J'onns is like, I'm over my family getting fried. It was just a phase. Oh yeah, and boy, what I can't believe what has happened to Jeremy Davies' career. Remember when Jeremy Davies was kind of a name actor, at least on the small screen? This is what he's doing these days? Talk about embarrassing. But while LaMonica Garrett as the Monitor should have been embarrassed with that costume, dude actually pulled it off. I thought he was cool. It doesn't hurt that he has an amazing voice, but I thought he would be ridiculous, and I actually totally bought his character. And I thought he delivered his lines really well. He was like, I might not be a god, but since you have no other word for me, that's what we'll use. And I was like, you're cool, buddy. So overall, I thought that the Elseworlds crossover was a whole lot of nothing. And also, it didn't do a good job of representing the Elseworlds brand, which made me a little frustrated because I'm such a fan of DC Elseworlds stories. I would hate to think that someone who wasn't would feel that they were just this lame. I mean, it didn't do a good job of showing why alternate reality stories are so much fun. But hey, I'm really excited about Gotham's No Man's Land that's coming up for its final season. Oh, I hope DC Universe Streaming picks it up. So to each their own. But again, I'm curious, for fans of The Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl, what did you think of this crossover? You're the target audience. I'm just the visitor who couldn't resist a Batwoman ridiculously small cameo. Because I do, as I said before, I do think that Gotham is better than this. Gotham has whole seasons, though, to play stuff out, and to be fair, this only had 3. But then be less, you should think big and small, have less to do and just do a better job with it. I felt that this was more just like confetti, but like confetti, it's over real quick instead of it being something that you could really enjoy, like an actual story. So that's my thoughts on the CW Elseworlds crossover. Share your own thoughts down below. Thank you for everyone who asked me to review this. I really appreciate it. I hope you felt that I was respectful enough of your shows. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.